Hello, universe. This is my review for 42, starring Chadwick Bozeman, Harrison Ford, and Nicole Beharie. This movie is the 42 was Jackie Robinson's number when he worked with the Brooklyn Dodgers back in 47 was when he was on their team. The essential story is that it's post World War II, and baseball has always been a white man's sport. At a point in 46, that area, the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Montreal, I can't remember what the name of the team was. It was another team he owned or was definitely affiliated with. He chose, his name was Branch Rickey, he chose to bring a black man into the game. And he did it, I think, for a couple of reasons. He did it, one, because of something that had happened in his past where he had not stood up for a black guy who was on one of his teams when he was younger. And two, because he was a businessman, knew that the population of African Americans, blacks, whatever you want to call it, was growing profoundly. Quick side note, the only way I say black or African American, whatever you want to call it, is because there are actually people who are from Africa who don't care for the use of the word African American by American persons with a darker skin tone. They don't care for it. So it's really kind of up in the air. I don't want to offend anyone one way or another, PC or otherwise. I'm a honky. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you should use derogatory terms towards people and try and insult them by any means. But I don't know that a skin color, commenting on skin color is necessarily an insult. We're all Americans, but if I'm going to describe someone, they're like, okay, what's someone look like? I'm going to say, well, he was black or African American, or he was white and Caucasian, whatever. You know what I mean? So that's a totally off the point thing. I just want to point out that they used far worse words in the past, which I am not going to use in describing persons who are of a different ethnicity than I am. You know what I'm saying? So I'll use black or African American. Either way, even though technically you're not black, you're brown skin if you happen to be African American. But either way, it's a whole, I'm already pissing people off, and I'm just starting the review. But either way, we're all in this together. It doesn't matter. So we just got to love each other. Let's make out. So anyways, the movie, though, follows Branch Rickey chooses Jackie Robinson among a group of other, person. Okay, I'm just going to say African American for now. Just whatever. He chooses Jackie among a group of African Americans out there to actually bring, because of his quality of play and his youth, because he knows he has a career ahead of him, he chooses to bring him into the fold and to try him out at spring training. Jackie ultimately is a bit of a powder keg, because whenever people pick on him and attack him from a racial standpoint, I think really from any standpoint, because he's just, he's a guy who grew up sort of, I got to survive, and he takes care of himself. He would react and, get into fights and do whatever else. So Branch wants to bring him up, and he brings him to spring training, but he tells him, he says, you can't respond. You can't, I want to bring you in, but you can't respond to all the racial stuff that's going to be said about you. He said, so you don't want a guy with guts enough to stand up for himself. And Branch says, no, Jackie, I want a man who has enough guts not to fight, who doesn't, respond to the crap that people throw at him, because in the end it looks bad for you, because they're going to say you're the loose cannon. Even if someone else throws the first punch, if you throw the second one, they're going to say it's your fault, and because that's where society was. And Branch Rickey knew that. Not saying that this is completely true in every autobiographical standpoint, but I'm sure a lot of it is true. There was probably a lot of risk involved, and Branch Rickey did lose a lot of credibility and make a lot of enemies in the beginning, especially for a long time in his ownership of the Dodgers as a result of bringing in Jackie Robinson. But ultimately, he was right. I mean, look at the quality of players we have of all different ethnicities, and this was the first time that someone outside of a white boy was brought into the fold. So, anyway, he brings them in and tells them, you can't let them get to you. You have to be strong enough inside to just do your job and make and make money and and do what you love. That's what you need. That's what you need to do. And so you see Jackie, as much as humanly possible, based on his circumstances, listen to what Branch is saying and just enjoy the life and the potential he has, and move forward. He goes with the Montreals at first for the first season, and then by essentially the beginning of the second season of his second season, Branch has Brooklyn buy out his contract from Montreal and pushes him up into the majors with the number 42 on his back. While Branch and Jackie are the motivators of a lot of things in this film, and they do have a lot of key screen time, and you see Jackie Robinson dealing with things. A quick side note, there's one part where there are these, white supremacists for all intents and purposes, or just, rednecks who want to, once again, I'm insulting rednecks. I'm not trying to say insulting rednecks, but, these white racists, let's just put it that way, that want to beat up on, Jackie Robinson late at night after a game and Jackie's passed out. So, I can't remember the reporter's name. He's a good actor, but he calls Branch and tells him what's going on. Branch says, "Okay, get Jackie out of there, get him in a car, and get him down to Florida, but don't tell him why you're doing this. I don't want him to want to stay and fight," because he knows Jackie is a man of principle and wants to not take BS. So he wakes up Jackie and drives him, and as they're leaving, these white racist guys are actually about to chase their car or making noise or whatever after them, and they're driving on, and the reporter tells Jackie, says, Branch didn't want me to tell you until we were on the road that you got to go to Florida because they were coming there to hurt you. And Jackie is really funny the way he responds. I thought it was a great moment for Jackie because he didn't think about race. He didn't think about any of that stuff when he got woken up. His first was he started laughing, and the reporter was like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you laughing?" And he said, "When you woke me up, I thought you woke me up because I got cut from the team." And I just thought it was the greatest thing because it was for him. It wasn't him worrying about, oh, white people hate me. It was worried that he had lost his job and how was he going to support his family. So it was really, I think that was one of the things that made it so human to me. The way he responded, and Chadwick Bozeman is just, brilliant in the role of Jackie Robinson, as is Harrison Ford as Branch Rickey. There's a huge supporting cast of strong people headed by Nicole Beharie and just a lot of other actors. Too many to really kind of get into all the names of right now. I highly encourage you to go look at them on IMDb for 42, the number. But anyways, so we go along and we just follow Jackie's career as he, in the early days of his career, as he adjusts and forces the world of baseball and people in general in society to adjust to an African-American male in baseball, and how it affects everybody around him. And like I said, while Branch and Jackie are definitely the two key characters you follow, and you see how much pain Jackie goes through when he's insulted and called these just horrible names by people, and you see how Branch starts to feel like he's finally doing something right and making up for his past mistakes and the way he handled himself with the other African American he knew when he was younger. Really, this movie, in a lot of ways, is not as much about directly about or equally as much about the people around them as it is about those two characters, because you see how Jackie and how Jackie's presence forces certain ball players who want to go against him and say, "Oh, we don't want a black guy on this team," or whatever. "We won't play if there's a black guy." And then certain ones are saying, "Listen, I'm here to do a job. I don't care what color his skin is. It doesn't matter. If he's man enough to take my spot, he can have my spot." And you see how society was changing. I mean, we're talking about essentially a little less than 100 years after the Civil War. You know, what was it 70, 80 years after the Civil War? It's more than, let's say, 65, 47. You're going to ask me to do math right now. About 82 to 85 years after the Civil War. And, you know, while black people were freed at that point, which I don't know why they had to be freed in the first place. They should have always been free. I don't know. Slavery is a whole other conversation that just pisses me off. But thank God we're out of that for the most part now, at least in this country. Anyways, so where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. So... really, you know, it's about, you see how some parts of society in the South had changed and were more accepting of the fact that, you know, a man is a man. It doesn't matter about his skin tone. If he can do the job, he can have the job, you know. And while others thought we're being replaced or we're being pushed out or we're not important anymore. I mean, it was a really challenging time in society where it was really very split, even among the community of Caucasians, because some people were stepping up and realizing we're all in this together. We're all based on our own merits, and then others, the ones who and sometimes had the power, unfortunately, were saying, no, we run this, it's going to be us all the way, they need to go over there. But really you see the evolution, and as Branch pushes for things to happen, and as Jackie shows himself to be a guy who won't respond to the crap that people give him, you see these people start to rally. You know, the press starts to rally behind him. You start to see how other ball players, when at one point, and I liked this, and it was for a couple of reasons that they had it happen, but at one point, Jackie is being verbally abused by this coach from a manager from another team. I mean, he's just being horribly abused, and it was a really uncomfortable scene to watch. And at one point, I can't remember if it was Dixie or Pee Wee who did it, but he basically goes over and says, you know, why don't you shut your mouth? You know he can't say anything to you, so why don't you pick on someone who can really fight back with you? And he says, I'm not, he says this stuff like, how does it feel, and I don't mean to be rude by this, he says, how does it feel to be the N of an N? And the guy says, I don't know, how does it feel to be a redneck asshole? I just thought it was great. It's just great when you see, and when Jackie talks to this player afterwards who stood up for him, he says, why did you do that? And he said, look, you're on my team, what am I supposed to do? Just stand there and let people pick on you? This is a game, we're trying to win something, I'm not going to do it. So he doesn't necessarily say, I'm defending you because you deserve not to be treated this way. I'm defending you because you're a part of what I'm a part of, and I'm not going to let the integrity of that be compromised by idiots. But really, as you see, they slowly evolve. These characters slowly evolve. The ones who were against him slowly evolve into realizing that, you know, Jackie is a part of their team. He's an effective part of their team. He's a great leader. He's one of the reasons that they they are successful. And some of them accept it, and others don't. But he really his presence and the efforts of Branch, Ricky, and then the other players on the Brooklyn Dodgers ball club really made it happen to where the baseball community realized that the face is changing, or rather the limitation of skin color is changing, and now we're going to grow, and we're going to start bringing in other people who aren't necessarily just like us. We're going to be people who are different, who have different, different colors of skin tone, different styles, different backgrounds, and I thought it was really, really strong that they did that. This movie's very different from it, but there was a movie that one of my favorite directors, Billy Crystal, did a movie called 61, which is about the home run race of 61 between Maris and Mantle. And I love that film. I mean, I love 61. And as far as I'm concerned, and I am not a baseball guy at all. And I mean, at all. And I'm telling you right now, this movie is just as high quality as that film. It is directed and written by Brian Helgeland. And if you are not familiar with him, he wrote Payback. He wrote a couple of other movies that why my brain can't think of in the moment. I looked him up last night, but he actually wrote an episode of Tales from the Crypt. He wrote a couple of horror movies called 976 Evil. Excuse me, but he's done a lot of stuff, and he's actually really grown as a writer over time. And to come in and direct this film, I just think he did a stellar job on it. The acting all the way around is so strong. It really, while they definitely deal with the racial aspects of the times, there was a lot about character, about people, and what they were used to and not used to. And I thought it was interesting. There was one part where there's I think it was it Pee-wee? I think it was Pee-wee. I want to say it was Pee-wee. Is talking to Branch. Pee-wee's one of the players, not, one of the cast of Voltron. But anyways, so Pee-wee is talking to Branch and says, listen, I got this letter from, from someone I know in Kentucky, and it says, you're all these kinds of negative things, basically, if you let a black man play on the team with you and if you support this or whatever. And Branch says, how many of those letters have you gotten? He said, well, just this one so far. And Branch goes to his file cabinet and pulls out all these letters and throws them on the desk and shows them to Pee-wee, and Pee-wee starts reading them, and it's these letters that are to Jackie saying, your kid will die. You will die. Your family will die. How would you like to see these people hurt? And all these just death threats to Jackie and his family. And Pee-wee is just devastated by it, in the sense it's like, I can't believe people would say this kind of stuff. I can't believe people would write this kind of stuff. And Branch says, well, you could see how I really don't care about someone writing you a mean letter when you have other people who are threatening to kill someone for his very skin color, and for him fighting to work and have a life and a career and follow his dreams. It's just a great scene, because in that moment, Pee-wee really realizes, I think, that there is an evil out there, and there's something wrong with it. As a matter of fact, at the end, one of the last ball games that they show, Pee-wee takes a picture. Pee-wee has family they're in his home area, so to speak, and Pee-wee goes and takes a picture with Jackie, and his family is in the audience. And I think it was his little boy or something, or a little boy he knew, that was actually hearing all these white racists, yell names at Jackie, and he started doing it. And then Pee-wee goes over, and I guess Pee-wee is like a hero to this kid or something, and he takes a picture with Jackie, and he says, Jackie asks him why he's doing this, and he says, these people need to know who I am. And it was his way of, showing that he knew that Jackie was just as worthy of being on that team as anyone else. And he was his partner in this, and that they were team members, and that it didn't matter outside of the fact that they both did their best and they were good men. Nothing else mattered. And he wanted people to see that. And it was just really strong. I mean, obviously you can tell I enjoyed the film. I have a hard time giving any film a 5. It's just a really hard thing to do. So I'm going to give this movie a 4.75, because I'm sure there are certain little elements that I didn't get on the first time, and I'm going to own this on Blu-ray. I'm going to buy it on Amazon, because I want it. I love the film. great film, but let's just talk cast. Cast, 4.75. Cast is strong, even if you hated some of the people because of the way they were saying negative things to Jackie Robinson. Keep in mind they were performers. They were playing characters. I've played a racist character before, and I've had, African Americans want to, prepare to beat me up because they thought I was being so evil. And I was doing it to show something was wrong with people who had to be so venomous towards people for no other reason than they didn't understand. Ignorance is a horrible thing, and sometimes you have to show it in order to go, I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? But the guys who played the racists in the film, you have to keep in mind, they did their job. Don't hate the actor. You can hate the dialogue, but they had to do it in order to authentically portray what was going on during the time. So the cast overall, obviously Harrison Ford, I think, is fantastic. Chadwick Bozeman, just stellar. As far as I'm concerned, the three, really those two. Nicole Beharie had a great role as Rachel Robinson. Great role, did a great job, but still wasn't as much, I think, there to show her for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, I think she needed more, and I think they could have given her some more. So this is where that 4.75 comes in. I think I would like to have seen a little bit more from Rachel and how she was dealing with this situation. But Nicole Beharie handled her role excellently. But Harrison Ford and Chadwick Boseman should most definitely be nominated for some kind of an award, mainstream award. I'm not talking about Independent Spirit. I'm not talking about, this or that or anything specific towards a certain ethnicity. I'm talking about general, the big awards, Oscar, the Globe, British Academy Award, whatever. I don't care. The Spirit Awards, whatever it is, they need to be nominated. Both of them did an excellent job, as should Brian Helgeland for both writing and directing this film. So the cast, 4.75. I'm sure there was a few little hits or miss in the cast, but very tiny things that weren't really noticeable. Direction is just great in this film. Just great. Like I said, I think there could have been a few more things with Rachel, but I think that Brian Helgeland as a director did a fantastic job. Very, very well done. 4.75. Script, 4.75. Once again, the whole thing is I would like to see a little more from Rachel, and maybe there was, but it may have hit the editing room floor. Who knows? It's hard to know. I'm sure if deleted scenes come along in DVDs, we'll be exposed to that, and I'm sure there is probably something more from Rachel we just didn't see in the film. I think they had to focus the attention more around Jackie and Branch Rickey's experiences and how it was changing the world of baseball and the world, in general. In that small way at the beginning. So I think you got as much of Rachel as they were able to show you. I mean, the movie is a little over 2 hours, but Nicole Beharie did great. Can't say enough about her. She's hot. Anyway, God, she's cute. But anyways, okay, let's move on. But she did great. But I think Harrison Ford and Chadwick Boseman definitely need to be nominated for mainstream awards come around this next year. I think it's going to be very hard to find better performances than that. Let's see. Music is great. Fairly authentic to the time. I think it was a little bit out of it. I'm going to give that a 4.5 just because it wasn't necessarily always... I think I would have liked to have seen a little more, music for the time, and I think it was a little too modern in certain aspects of the music, but I do think the music was pretty good overall. Cinematography, just dynamic. You really got in. You saw the darks. You saw the lights. You saw, when they were in, you felt the claustrophobia of tight situations. You felt the fear of moments. You felt the darkness of night. You felt the brightness of day. It was really well done cinematography-wise. I'm going to give that a 4.5 too, because I think it wasn't one of the number one aspects of the film, but definitely a really strong point of the film. I think for the most part it was very authentic. I think there were a few indiscretions as far as authenticity of the times. But for the most part, I think it was very honest costuming and set-wise. Just a really strong film overall. I mean, I give it a 4.75. I really enjoyed 42. I would go back and watch it again. I laughed throughout it. They knew how to have drama, and they also knew how to make you laugh at certain points. And everybody handled it really well. Directed brilliantly by Brian Helgeland. I definitely encourage you to go and look at him on IMDb and see more of the stuff he's written, and go check out more of his scripts. Keep in mind, when you watch a movie that he's written, not directed, you've got to look at it from the script standpoint, not from the direction standpoint. He's only directed a few films, 42 being his most recent one, but just great job. Overall, I think this is a definitely C movie. Not C, but I mean go see movie. It's an A+ movie. Go see it in theaters. Definitely worth the price of admission. Have a good meal and enjoy it, because you will. You really will. If you're not one of those people who's going, let's see how they change the world. No, you got to go into it and saying, what is this world? What were they dealing with, and how did people evolve, and who motivated a change, and what was the evolution of society at that point? Even in a small capacity, because we're talking about society within the baseball community and its subtle and slow effects on the mainstream sports community, and then, of course, the world, the United States specifically, as it started to evolve and desegregate. That's a proper word. So check it out. Great film, 42, with Chadwick Bozeman, Harrison Ford, and Nicole Beharie, 4.75. Thanks so much for watching the review. Hope you're doing well, enjoying your weekend, and go out there and enjoy the sunshine. I hope you have some. Enjoy the world, because that's what it's here for. Take care of yourself.